G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Springfield. Today we're going to be working in downtown Springfield. I asked you guys last week what sort of things you'd expect to find here, and I got a lot of really great suggestions, and I reckon I placed down most of the suggestions that you guys left, if not all of them, and I even added in just a couple of extra things that, yeah, I mean this episode is just full of really great references. I'm already dreading how many Simpsons quotes I have to insert into this video, just because there's so much that I put into it. And you know what, there's actually a few more things that I do need suggestions about and just some advice, so I will ask you guys a little further on in this video, because there are some things that I'm just wondering whether we stick down, whether they're too unrealistic or something that we definitely need to do. But yeah, I'll talk a bit about that later on in the episode. Kick things off, we have to do one more station for the monorail. And this station is a little bit different to the other ones. That's why I didn't place this one down when I built all the monorail stations. This one is over the road, which just adds a little bit more complication to the whole custom station factor. So as I did with all the other stations, I just used this one as a template, just like, okay, what can I use from this as a bit of a reference, as a bit of a style guide for what this over the road version is going to look like. I was trying to use some of the walls, some of the pre-existing walls that we have, but they were just a little bit too big for this over the road version, so I thought instead we could remove the walls and just have this just this escalator that's traveling down to the road access, and then we could just have some pillars instead. Just keep it pretty simple. It's a little bit more on the ugly side of things, but I think that's fine. I mean, this we all know the monorail's not exactly the best built system in Springfield. But as you can see, I am putting this pillar down below. It's pretty much the only thing that's going to be holding it up, and I just got 4 extra pillars on either side. And that's pretty much all I did. That's it's pretty low detail, but I think it does the trick. And I'm actually going to call that station Chinatown, because this area that we're working on here, this street, is Chinatown, and there are a few episodes that take place here, a couple of references, so I figured we did need one.
You want the truth? You want the truth? You can't handle the truth! Because when you reach over and put your hand into a pile of goo, that was your best friend's face! Forget it, Marge! It's Chinatown!
And look, I am keeping it pretty simple down here. We've just got a couple of lanterns on the street lights, and I am also adding in a couple of custom signs that's actually just really useful for placing over the top of some of these ones that, have to be honest, we are starting to see a lot of the same signs floating around in this city, so yeah, I can just use this to cover up a couple of the ones around here, and yeah, I think they work pretty well. Might be nice to get some actual custom signs that are real references from places in Springfield, but yeah, that's a job for some of the asset creators if they're interested. And by the way, we placed down some very nice custom assets in this episode. You'll be able to find some of them on the Steam Workshop. In fact, some of them are already on the Steam Workshop, and they have been for a little while. But there's a few more that you'll see floating around on the workshop over the next week. So go and check them out. I'll leave a link to them in the description. I'm sure you already know what they are because they are in the thumbnail, but damn, they are nice. Now, I'm just filling out the area with some low commercial buildings, trying to keep the skyline pretty small. We don't really want to be going too tall. You can see a couple of ones that are a little bit taller, and they will be forming the skyline for the city. You guys did suggest that we keep it pretty low, and I totally agree with that. There are a couple of ones that get a little bit tall, but I think they're justified. You'll see them be placed down a little later. So the style of architecture and just the layout of the downtown is actually really tricky, because the Simpsons make this whole area very muddy. There's no like real reference to it. And if anything, this is the one place within Springfield that just changes depending on the episode. So whenever you look at downtown Springfield from a distance, the skyline's always quite low, but then there are episodes where there are like massive tall buildings and it looks like Manhattan, and you're like, okay, well then are there tall buildings in this place or are there not? And then there are some other areas that look like Los Angeles, and then there's other areas that look like you know, just other areas around America. So I have to just sort of make up my own version. I'm going to make the version that has a low-lying skyline. We're not going to do anything too tall, so all those massive buildings that you see in some of those episodes, we're not going to do any of them. I think the popsicle tower is just too tall. I don't think we should do that one. I just think it would look really strange within this version. But there are a couple of other ones that I will place down that sort of meet that lower skyline version that I think is the best version to go with. But yeah, let me know what you guys think as well. There are a few more buildings that we could be adding, but at this stage, I'm not going to do them. So we'll just have to see moving forward what that looks like. Alright, we are placing down another aspect of Chinatown, and that's this Buddhist temple. This is one of those builds that is just super easy to place down. It looks pretty much exactly like the one from the show, so pretty happy with how this thing turns out.
You guys are Buddhists?
Oh yeah, if I didn't have inner peace, I'd completely go psycho on all you guys all the time.
I thought just as a little extra detail, we'd add in a little garden attached to it, like a little meditative area for people to take a walk and just chill, especially in the hustle and bustle of the downtown. Thought this might be a nice little section. And there's also this bus stop here too, which was a little bit of an accident, but I think it's a really nice location for a bus stop. So I'm actually pretty happy with that location. I think it's a good spot. But I would like to drag out a couple more of the bus networks just to make sure that they make sense in some of the areas so that we're getting people to the right places. But you can actually see a lot of people visiting the Buddhist temple, which is just a very cool little aspect of this area. Alright, moving on from Chinatown, we are making our way down to Main Street, which you guys all know Main Street as being very cracked and broken. But there are a couple of shops that I thought definitely needed to be placed around Main Street. And one in particular, and I guess it's not a shop, it's in fact the cinema. So of course, this is the Aztec Theater. This is one of those very iconic buildings within Springfield, within the Simpsons. So it's just great to be able to place this building down in my version. This has been made by Seabud, so thank you so much for making that. I think it's a really great addition, and it's a great looking model. There are some really cool details on it. And if you guys want to get your hands on it, I've left a link to it in the description. And if you do end up using it in your city, then send me some shots. I'd love to see what it looks like in your version. I think it is one of those assets that would actually just look great in any city. Particularly if you're making an American style city, I think that would look really great. I think it's just got that architectural style. But yeah, it's a great looking building and some really cool bits of detail on it. So for the surrounding area, I decided that we needed some sort of car park behind it. Being, again, an American city, there is a lot of parking spaces in American downtowns. And I also saw that there is this side alley as well from the show. So I definitely needed that. And you can actually see that with the parking space behind, I decided to leave it as a parking area where there's no lines. It's one of those more run-down spaces where you can just park wherever you like. There's a couple of potholes and it's just not great. So decided to leave it in that sort of style. And speaking of potholes, this is Main Street, cracked and broken, right? So we do need to add in a couple of extra holes and cracks. It does look pretty rough around here, unfortunately, but you know, that's just the way Main Street looks. And of course, because we do have such giant potholes on Main Street, it is pretty dangerous for drivers. Every now and again, you might lose a car or two, but you know, we do now have the monorail, which is just a little bit more of a better way of getting around. You don't really have to use Main Street quite as much, but you know, unfortunately, accidents do happen, and when they do happen, you do have to clean up the mess, divert traffic, which is what we're doing here. We are diverting traffic so that cars are no longer going around this giant pothole, this giant mound of popcorn. And you saw that I was able to divert traffic just by using traffic president mods, just making sure that the lanes are connected, well, diverted from this one lane while they're doing a bit of construction over here. And I just think that these construction workers, I mean, they're great. They're just a couple of little people just doing some work. And then for the surrounding area, just putting down some more low commercial, trying to keep the skyline pretty small for this area. I do like when you do have a skyline and everything else is quite low around it, but then the buildings that are particularly taller and form more of the skyline, I like it when they're a bit more pronounced and you can actually see those, like the more details on those buildings. So that's why I try and keep everything pretty low around this area so that when we do actually have some taller buildings, we'll be able to see what they look like. And particularly about these ones, when you do see the ones that I placed down, they need to be seen. They're ones that you want to be able to tell what they are. And speaking of more low commercial, we have another custom asset. This is the Jazz Hole, and you might remember this one from, I believe, Bleeding Gums Murphy plays at the Jazz Hole, and there's a couple of other references where they go to the Jazz Hole to see some jazz being played. So yeah, this is a great looking asset. I think that it fits in really well in this location, being like this very low commercial area, main streets, and you've also got the monorail just stretched behind it. It's kind of like this really nice scene. And this one is made by Turnpike Theory, so you can go and check that one out on the Steam Workshop. It's actually been there for a little while now, and it's one of those assets that I think just fits in with pretty much everything. So yeah, go hit that one up. And thank you so much, Turnpike Mike. It's great. Really love it. Like, I actually can't believe the amount of assets being made for this series and the collaboration between you guys and myself. So thank you so much. It's just been super fun making these episodes and seeing all the buildings that people are making, all the custom assets. It's just pretty ridiculous. Okay, now we are working in a slightly different location, but trust me, we'll be back in the downtown. I wanted to finish off some of the references from the monorail. And one in particular was when Homer made the anchor and slowed down the monorail. And when he made it, it ripped through a whole bunch of areas around Springfield. And it started off by totally demolishing the birthplace of Jebediah Springfield. And just by coincidence, like I didn't do this on purpose, it's a very nice coincidence, but I had placed Jebediah Springfield Park right next to the monorail line. So there we go. That was a really nice, easy one right there. And then following the trail of destruction, went past a medical clinic where it ripped through two conjoined twins. And that was a very easy one. Again, I just placed down a medical clinic and that was just about it. Probably could have done a bit more for that one, but you know, whatever. It is what it is. And then it went past the ye old anchor shop.
You called that an anchor?
And I made that by just putting a bit of procedural object sign out the front and using PO again to make this anchor a little bit smaller, so it just sat on the sign that sits at the front here. And then to finish off the journey of the anchor and the monorail, I put the donut shop and that's it. That was about as easy as it got. And it's just a fun little trail of destruction that you can see the monorail take. Of course, it didn't put the trail of the destruction. It's instead just there waiting to happen. All the pieces are there, just waiting for the monorail to lose control and Homer to save the day. So for the donut shop, it's pretty simple. It's just one of the vanilla buildings. It's a 1x1 building. It's super tiny, but it's pretty much perfect for this little shop. And the donut as well. This is a custom donut that I grabbed ages ago, and I thought that I could potentially use it for something else, because originally it was for the lard lad, but I decided that we needed a custom one, so luckily I got a custom one made. So yeah, that's there, and it looks pretty damn good where it currently sits. Now, we are currently working on what is probably the tallest building now in Springfield, and it is, of course, the Sit and Rotate restaurant. This building's from really old episodes. I actually didn't realize that. It's something that I've always wanted to place down in Springfield, and I always knew that I could use the Space Needle, but I didn't realize how old the episodes were and how little episodes actually feature this Space Needle or the Sit and Rotate. But yeah, there are a couple of episodes, not very many, but it's definitely something that we did need to include. So it was a quite easy thing to make. I did have to change it a little bit because I really didn't want it to look like the Space Needle from Seattle. But that was actually quite easy because I did want to make this much smaller. It was really quite tall when I first placed it down, but using procedural objects, I was able to shorten it down quite a lot. I scaled it, and then I just grabbed the nodes from the very top part of it and just dragged them right down and put it on top of this little building too, which I don't know if it could probably support the weight of this restaurant that sits on top, but whatever. I think it's fine the way it is. And I just placed a little park down below because we did need a little bit more green space around here, which we were lacking a little bit around the downtown. It's something really easy to do, just for, just place down a whole bunch of areas, a lot of buildings, a lot of concrete space, and parklands just can quickly disappear. And I don't know, it's something you just need to make sure that you're staying on top of, otherwise it's something that is quite easily lost. So yeah, I thought that was a good spot for a little bit of a parkland just below it. Some simple paths and some palm trees just to make it look a little bit nicer around here. And now we are working on another custom building, which I did know that I wanted to include. And I'm just going to see if you guys can figure out what I'm making here. Can you work it out? Can you figure it out? What am I doing? What am I making? What could I possibly be making? What building could I be making right now? I'll give you a couple of seconds. Alright, I am making the big T building from the Cat Burglar episode. You know, that one where they're trying to find where the missing money is, and missing money? Missing treasure? Oh, the stolen goods. The Cat Burglar has stolen a whole bunch of stuff and he hid it under a giant T. So there actually are a couple more T buildings or T references I could be placing down. I think I might do a few more in the next episode. But this is the only one so far. But it would be kind of cool to do the T palm tree somewhere. And I don't know, is there a teacup on the workshop? I don't know if there is. Let me know if you've seen one. But yeah, that might be another one we should do. There's so many custom buildings to place down, guys. It's just like an impossible task. But luckily, we do have a lot of people who are making a lot more custom buildings for me. So yes, again, we are making another custom building. We're placing down the very last custom building for this episode. And this one was very kindly made by Lee TG3. So please go and check it out on the Steam Workshop. I've left a link to that in the description below. It is great. It's a little tiny building that you can nestle amongst some other ones, and it's got some really cool details, including the interior. So you can actually see the interior of this place. It's a little bit more cartoony, so it's a bit more of a cartoony style, but it actually fits in really well with the style of Cities Skylines anyway. So another great building. So it's there. We're pretty much nailing all the main buildings within Springfield. So there's not a huge amount more that I really need. I do have a document that I have all the buildings that are currently being worked on and the ones that I do need on my wish list. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave that in the description below. Oh my god, so many links in the description. So I don't know, if I miss any, just let me know if I don't include them. No doubt I will forget to include some of them. But look, we are finishing up this episode because it is a big one. I did want to get your opinions on some things though. I don't know about the escalator to nowhere, and I don't know about the giant magnifying glass. Are we going to do those things? I don't know. Are they too unrealistic? Are they too crazy? Let me know in the comments. I don't really know. I kind of want to make them. I don't know what they're going to look like within my skyline, but we'll just see. But to finish off today's build, we are placing down the Springstonian Museum. This is pretty similar to the one from The Simpsons, but it's a bit different. We don't need a custom asset for this one. This is close enough. There are there's actually quite a few museums and art galleries and other things around this downtown area that I plan to place around this waterfront area. I think it'll look really great around here. And we don't really need custom assets for them. We can pretty much make do with some of the ones from the vanilla game. But yeah, that's it, guys. That is it for today's episode. Next week, I want to be working on Bumtown and some other things around this area. Thank you all so much for watching. It's very much appreciated. I want to give a special shout out to some of the new patrons on my channel. Lewis McGow, Eric Norden, Aces Punk, Axaris, Donglin Lee, Koala, Michael Danger, Geordie, Cody Backman, and Samuel Stelzer. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!